The conference is organized by the World Council of Churches in collaboration with the Protestant Church in Switzerland to promote a constructive dialogue on the issues related to the protection of Armenian people and the heritage in Artsakh, Nagorno Karabakh, as well as other experiences in the world. I would like to invite my local colleague to say also a few words of welcome.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Protestant Church in Switzerland, I warmly welcome you to today's press conference held in the context of Armenia Conference. My name is Stefan Jüte. I'm head of communications for the PCS. Thank you very much for your interest to engage with us on this important issue.
May I introduce the panel? Reverend Rita Famos, President for the Protestant Church in Switzerland. Reverend Professor Dr. Jerry Pillet, General Secretary of the World Council of Churches. His Eminence, Archbishop Dr. Viken Akasian, Vice Moderator of the World Council of Churches. His Excellency, Dr. Luis Moreno Ocampo, former First Chief Protector, International Criminal Court. And journalists online and on site are welcome to ask questions. For those online, please type in the chat, and my colleague Albin Hillert will then pick up the questions and you will be able to address them to any of the panelists. My other colleague Klaus Grue, WC's Communication, will begin to ask a question to each of the panelists, and you have around 2 minutes each to respond. And after that, we will invite questions from the floor. So over to you, Klaus.
Thank you. And after 2 minutes, we'll turn off your microphones. Okay, welcome again all. The conference is now coming to an end. It's half a day left. And I would like to begin with asking you, what are your main conclusions so far from the conference? And is there anything in particular that has stood out during the conference? We could begin with Reverend Famos, please.
Yes, I'm really impressed of two things. On the one side, we have these testimonies of this sadness, of this pain of Armenian people and also other peoples. We heard to a person of Cyprus this morning. On the other hand, we have this hope. I felt there is something we can do. We were listening to Swiss parliamentarians taking initiatives to push the government to do what they can, and we heard also from international representatives about ideas what we could do to involve also UNESCO and other international powers. So it's both. It's the pain and the hope we can do something, and also the feel that the willing we will do something together. And that's, for me, it was very, very important to feel this in these 2 days.
Thank you so much. Continue, Dr. Pillet.
Yes, you know, the World Council of Churches is always and has always been involved with peace initiatives in many different parts of the world. And our journey with the Armenian context has also been a long struggle, but more particularly since the attack on Artsakh, we have been in solidarity and in a consistent journey with the people in Armenia as far as this is concerned. And this particular conference, for example, emerged out of the request from our church here in Armenia that actually requested that the WCC work in terms of talking about the cultural and heritage and religious protection of the church's materials and identity. And so we took that quite seriously, and therefore we gather here. What stands out for me in this particular conference is the integrated approach. Even though it is very much religious people who are in conversation, but it is also consisting of people from the political background, the legal background, from humanitarian backgrounds. This integrated approach brings although we work in a similar way in different contexts, but in this particular conference, I must say that what comes more strongly and powerfully is how when we join efforts and collaboration, we can make a big difference. And this conference brings with it the hope, the challenge and the call for people to work together, for people of goodwill to work together, to challenge governments and authorities and powers that might be that continue to perpetuate suffering in the world. So in the midst of suffering, there is hope. And hope is generated and displayed more powerfully when different people from different sectors come together to say, we have to do something.
Thank you. Archbishop Wicken, please.
Well, this conference taught me that the churches are the voice of voiceless. Once more, I believe in it. And the World Council of Churches and National Protestant Church coming together to defend the defenseless, to protect human beings. And it gave me also hope in justice. Sooner or later, justice will come. I think that's the best thing I can say.
Fantastic. So, and if we go over to the legal representative here, Dr. Ocampo.
Well, it's my first time at a press conference with 3 bishops, so I'm very honored. We need bishops. We really need bishops. Bishops and religious leaders talking about peace and justice are needed today more than ever. Bishops and religious leaders talking about protecting people. And the wisdom of them is they organize this event involving not just religious leaders, involving the parliamentarian, for instance. No? What the bishop mentioned, the Swiss parliamentarians are doing a great initiative in Switzerland. And we can see how to support Switzerland on this. We need states and bishops working together. And you understand, these people, these bishops represent 600 million people. Imagine the people that they can mobilize to help the world to be a more just place, a place no more wars, a place where people are protected. That's what they're doing here. That's why I'm very proud to be invited on this panel.
Thank you so much. I think before we continue with other questions, perhaps we should let the media in. Mr. Reich, you have any questions?
Microphone.
Yeah, my answer is about what happens next. We hear about a lot of ideas about what can be done. What do you think are the most urgent initiatives that the World Council of Churches and the local churches need to take and implement now?
Thank you very much for that. And I would suggest that we address that question maybe to the General Secretary of the World Council of Churches, Dr. Pelé, and then maybe anyone else in the panel would also like to add. Over to you, Dr. Pelé.
Well, I think the key things that the World Council of Churches has always been engaged in is the awareness aspect, because there's a lot of people suffering in the world that other people are not mindful of. But not only just the awareness, but also trying to establish the facts in those situations, because very often distorted stories or misinformation or disinformation is communicated. So we like to really contribute to saying what are the facts in this, and storytelling becomes a real aspect of that. So awareness and advocacy is what we've always been working on. I think the key thing in this conference, as in many other places where the World Council of Churches works, is the issue of collaboration. So what happens after this is that the integrated approach that we have actually brought together in this conversation, I'm hoping that will be formalized in a way that we can now say, how do we put these different experiences together and collaborate in terms of moving and mobilizing government structures, people with power and authority to be making a difference, to tell the stories of people so that the real stories are communicated. So the idea is to shift thinking. The idea is to actually engage policy formation. The idea is to continue to speak about justice and peace and to work with countries that are in struggle and suffering, but also to mobilize the international world. One of the things that is totally missing right now in the context of the world is having people with established, even so-called power, wanting to make a difference for the good of the world. And the church has a role to play in that, and the WCC fills that gap and will continue to do so in that mobilization.
Thank you. I think you wondered about the local perspective as well, right? So, Reverend Famos, you say something about that?
Yeah, from a Swiss perspective, we were listening to this parliamentarian, and also we heard from this initiative of 20 Swiss parliamentarians, and what they said is we should use the neutrality of Switzerland not as a position of distance, but as a position to build bridges, and build bridges to the international organization like UNESCO, to help them to come into action what they should do, and also to put together other countries in this neutral, so-called neutral position, to put together their power and to go into action. And this was for me a very it was independent actions, the Swiss Parliament and also the World Council of Churches and the Protestant Church in Switzerland, and it came together like a kairos, and we should use this now and stick the head together. We will do this. I already made appointments, and then we will do what we can do, and also to negotiate with the government to take its power. Yeah.
If I may.
Of course, Dr. Cavo.
The Swiss Church is helping to support the Swiss parliamentarians, but the World Council of Church could help to engage other countries to support Switzerland. Yeah. Uruguay, also a small neutral country. So there are many countries in the world who can join Switzerland following this effort for the bishops and do a real important change in the world. That's why this is the beginning of the change.
Thank you very much. And we have also received a question from Armenian media 301 and Gayan Sarkasian. I'm so sorry for my pronunciation. And they are sending a big word of gratitude to the panelists. And they also ask, is this only a one-time event, or do you plan for a long-term project? And this is almost responded by the two of you, Rita Famos and Reverend Pillet. But maybe Archbishop Viken, you are also vice moderator of WCC. What would you add from your point of view?
You know what the churches are doing? No other entity in the world could do the same thing. And the churches and the World Council of Churches and National Protestant Church does not start with one thing and stops there. This is the continuation of our trip to Armenia in September 19, when we were at the border when the war started. And we decided there we are going to continue. So this is the continuation. This is the first step. And we are not going to stop it. I mean, I remember from there, from Armenia, what Reverend Rita called the government of Swiss government, telling that what are you doing when a Christian nation is suffering? The continuation will go on, and still they are inviting the parliamentarian to speak about it. They are inviting the people to be part of it and pray for it, because we forget sometimes the power of prayer. And it's very important. I think as a Christian, that's a very, very important part of our life and our activities and our future and our success.
Thank you very much, Archbishop Viken. We have also pre-prepared a few questions, and I would ask Klaus to address one more, and then there is other incoming questions from the journalists online.
Yes, I think an important question would be, in this polarized world, a world of general unrest, how can the churches maintain and strengthen its position as an advocate for human rights in such an environment today? Who would feel inclined to respond to that question first?
I'm happy to do that. Well, I think the most important thing is the complexity of that issue. If the churches realize the gospel message speaks of truth, love, grace, justice, peace, and work with those things, then we would actually create a better world. The problem is that many churches get influenced by nationalistic tendencies and take different views and perceptions on issues, and somehow we're not able to gain consensus and agreement on these issues, which also then divides the church communities. And that, unfortunately, is the tragedy of it. But yes, of course, we live in a real world. We are influenced and we think about different things in different ways. So it's a natural inclination to be divided in these views. But I've always said something, and that is, if the churches came back to the purity of the gospel message and lived by it, we will have a significant impact. We will talk to situations no matter what they are like. We will talk to governments. We will be consistent in our unity and visible in our unity and consistent in our message. And if we have that consistency, we can then look for greater impact. So those are the kind of things that we need to be working with. Unfortunately, I think there is a sense of disconnection and disunity on issues. But the churches need to come together in prayer, believing that the Spirit works in each of us, but the Word must stand true to all of us as we interpret and live it in the world today.
Can I add?
Yes, of course.
I would like to add two things. First, we were also listening to speaker Artsakh from an inter-religious view, and the churches should force everything that improves the inter-religious dialogue, because we should prove to the world that religion is not only a problem for conflicts, but also the solutions. And what she said is very important. The first thing we have to learn from each other is to listen. Why are you thinking in this position? Why did you came to this position? What is your religion? What is your confession? And I think that's a very important contribution to the world, that we say we want to learn to journey together the different religions. And then from a Protestant perspective, I mean, we have this tradition of synodality, so the meaning making in an inclusive and participative manner, and that could be our contribution also to this world who is in danger to fall apart in extreme positions, to bring people together with opposite meanings or positions, and then to discuss and find solutions. And it's not a matter of power, it's a matter of the willing to listen to the others and find compromises and find solutions. And we have a long tradition in this, and maybe that could be an important also contribution to this very difficult and complex situations we are in. There are no simple answers.
Well, you provide a simple answer. You provide the principle, you provide the principles: solidarity, truth, justice, peace. These are the global principles.
Exactly.
The problem is the world is globally communicated, and this press conference is showing that, but we are divided into 193 national states with their own geopolitical, economic interests. Church are providing a general principle: solidarity, truth, justice, peace. That is a solution to be humanity as a community. That's what the religious leader could provide. Humanity as a community, we don't kill each other.
Thank you. One interesting question, of course, after or during such a conference is, how will it make a difference for the people in the region?
Well, it's a beginning.
It's a beginning.
It's a beginning.
So where do we go from here?
Should we then?
We continue our struggle. We continue our struggle. We should not give up when the question of justice comes. We have to struggle against injustices. You know, I went once to State Department. Of course, I used to go always, you know, to speak about the suffering of my people. So one of the persons in the State Department, Archbishop, what is new? I mean, you came again with a complaint about the Armenians. I said, no, it's not Armenians. It's about the suffering of Yazidis, a suffering of Kurds. Well, yeah, I said, I mean, Erdogan is attacking these poor Kurdish people there. And thousands of people were killed. And hundreds of thousands of houses were demolished. I said, I am the voice of voiceless. I don't belong to the Armenian people alone. I belong to humanity because I'm part of humanity.
Yes.
And that's very important. We should be, everyone should be a part of humanity. You know, when the question of Armenian genocide came, and we were going to Vatican, and Vatican did not recognize Armenian genocide. Pope Francis comes from a very important background where there is a very important Armenian community in Argentina. Before they knew that Pope Francis was going to make a statement about the Armenian genocide, the powerful nations, they said, no, please. They went and begged him not to say. He said, I am a human being and I have to defend humanity. And he did.
If I could just come into this question as well, because you asked it before with regards to the region. One of the things that the World Council of Churches does is that it doesn't go into a context and then drop out and forget. We have a system of continuation. So, like for example, we were in Sudan, we were in Colombia, we were in Nigeria, and what we've established there is envoys or groups of people that are still continuing with the work. Similarly, we will do this in this context as well of Armenia, that we will put together a group of people, integrated group of people, people from the region and people from outside, that will work together to ask, how do we continue this journey? So that is the way in which we work. And we will continue to do that now and put in a system together. In fact, I've already been involved in conversations last night where we've been talking about what else and what next. But I can assure you that this is no hit and run. This is a hit and stay. And we will stay.
Thank you.
And you asked what is new. The new thing is the Swiss parliament is unique. It's no other country where the parliament requests to the executive branch to do something for this Artsakh region. So it's new. And there is no other bishops in the world organize a meeting together to discuss how to work together with the parliament. That is two new things.
Thank you, Dr. Campo. Time flies, and we have a follow-up question from Esther Suter from KNA, and this is addressed mainly to Reverend Famos. You have been facing resistance from UNESCO, Vatican, etc. to not attend the meeting. Why are they not interested to attend the meeting? Do we know why?
Yeah, I mean, they have several excuse to not to attend. I mean, maybe it doesn't show that they are not in solidarity, but they have their reason why they don't want to speak out here. Maybe of diplomatic reason, or you name it. And it's not. I mean, we were disappointed, but it's not now the time to blame. It's the time to connect and see, because these are really organizations with a lot of impact, and we should just join them and stay in contact to see what we can do together with UNESCO, with the Vatican, and also with our government.
Thank you. Then we have a final question to you. What will be the takeaway from this conference? We know that you have a plan to continue with advocacy to make a difference for the Armenian people. And then I would like to take you in the order next to me, Archbishop Viken, then Reverend Famos, Dr. Pelé, and finally Dr. Ocampo, and maybe you have a special message to the Fellowship of Churches, because WCC are representing 352 member churches. We will be 356 probably in June, and we have an audience with 600 million Christians. So what is the main message from your side to the Fellowship? But first, Archbishop Wicked, the floor is yours.
The message to the churches is that let's get more united and preach the word of gospel for justice and peace. Let's not lose our hope in justice. That's the best message for me from my side.
Thank you. Reverend Famos.
Yeah, we should keep on, as we heard, for peace, justice, humanity, but we should also be self-reflecting. Are we on a good track? What can we contribute to our societies? Where are we not honest with ourselves? So we should also be self-reflective and also see what can we as church, my church, do better. And then for me, it's really we shouldn't give up hope that we can make this world a better world with the help of God.
Thank you. Dr. Pelé.
Well, I think one of the key things that we've learned in this conference, as in many other conferences, is the role of religion and what people of faith can do to bring change and make a difference in the world. This conference has taken place because it was requested by a member church. And equally, we have been doing some conferencing in this last 2 weeks, and each of those have been actually by initiative of request from member churches or ecumenical partners. And the point I want to make is that member churches are significant, and on the ground where you are, in the regions where you are based, and globally where you are structured, you can make a difference. So unity is essential. Standing up for justice is essential in the context. Trying to get a pure, better understanding of the gospel message in the context, to know what our faith requires us to do, is imperative. And how can we join forces and collaborate with others, whether it is our other religious leaders from different faiths, whether it is NGOs and many other organizations, humanitarian and otherwise, that we can stand together, work together, because we can be stronger together on addressing these issues. No one body or church or person can really stand strong against all the challenges that we face, but together we can. And so unity finds our strength, and in unity we can make a difference.
Thank you, Dr. Pelé. Then we turn to Dr. Ocampo.
Amen. Amen. The bishop talk. The bishop talk. 300 million people follow them. Now we are 300 million one, me, supporting them. So that's the point.
Thank you very much to the panelists. Thank you for your time. And we know that you have a quite busy afternoon where you're going to finalize a message to the world. And that message will be released later today or tonight online. And I ask all the media, thank you for the attention and thank you for the important work you're doing to spread the word. And hopefully you are able to follow us until the end of this week, because more material to come. And I wish the panelists best of luck for the afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.